After that rather long beginning, a little sip of water wouldn't go amiss. And we shall find out what is in the box. I wonder. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Oh, someone's brought me flowers. Look at this, look at this. A lovely, lovely red rose and some lovely, lovely snowdrop flowers. Oh, I'll put those in the vase later on. I won't put them in my drinking water because it's a bit dangerous. You don't ever want to drink from the water you put roses in particular. Dangerous to the old throat. Anyway, this can only be one thing. Today's story is Snow White and Rose Red. And I think we'll begin the usual way. Once upon a time, in the heart of the forest, there was a clearing. And in the clearing, in the heart of the forest, there stood a beautiful little hut. And in this hut, there was a man and a woman. Now, he was a woodcutter, a forester, and he was also a carpenter. He would chop down trees and he would make things out of the wood. He knew everything there was to know about wood. He knew what wood would work for woodwork and what wood would not work for woodwork. He would make front doors so you could open them up and get inside your house. He would also make back doors so you could get back outside again. He would make chairs and tables so you could sit and eat and drink. He would make toys for the very young. He'd make walking sticks for the elderly. And he would make coffins for the dearly departed. His name was Edward. Edward Woodward. Now his wife was a jam maker extraordinaire. She would make delicious strawberry jam. Oh, I love strawberry jam. In July. She would make raspberry jam in August. Oh, yes. She would make plum jam in September. Oh, yes. She made apple pies to die for. Her elderberry wine was the sweetest you ever did taste. And she was a healer as well. Yeah, a healer. Oh, she could cure my itchy nose. That means she made people feel better. She would make lotions from leaves and medicine from moss and remedies from roots. And her name was Damson Greengage. Now, Damson and Edward had everything they could possibly want. Well, nearly. You see, they had a lovely house in the middle of the forest, and every day they were woken up by the lovely sound of birds. And another one. Not that one. This one. And how about this one? Or how about this one? Anyway, they were woken up by the sound of birds. I just wanted to force those in. I know it was a bit shoehorned, but never mind. They were woken by the sound of birds every day, and it was lovely. The smell of the forest was absolutely wonderful. And of course, put your hands on your hearts, my friends, and take a deep breath and sigh. Oh, they had each other. But the one thing they wanted more than anything in the whole wide world, of course, was a baby. They really wanted to have a baby, and they'd been wanting to have a baby for a very, very long time. So, the day when Damson felt her apron strings tighten across her tummy, and she knew she was going to have a baby, yippee! It was the happiest day of her life. Now, at the time of finding out that she was going to have a baby, it was winter. A very, very cold winter, and the snow was falling thick and fast that winter. But Damson did love to get her exercise in the afternoon. She always liked to go for a walk, and Edward would always say, "Be careful, Damson, it's cold, the snow's thick, be careful, wear an extra scarf, wear an extra coat, wear an extra jumper, be careful and only go out for 10 minutes. I promise, Edward, don't you worry." So one day, when the snow was thick, even though they're in the forest, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how does the snow get through? Well, it was so heavy, my friends. The snow was so heavy, it managed to go in through the leaves and flip onto the floor. And there were lots of little clearings in this forest, lots of little clearings where the snow could just land quite easily. And Damson, she loved walking in the snow. Who doesn't? Isn't it brilliant? Walking in the snow, crunch, 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 leaving footprints like this crunch, and she loved it. And as she was crunching through the snow, she came across a rose. A beautiful winter rose. Oh, if only Edward could see this rose. He loves roses, but he's at home, he's carving something. I think, actually, I know he hasn't told me, but I think he's making a little cot for our baby. Oh, it's so romantic. But if only he could see this rose. This rose is beautiful. And she knelt down to smell the rose, but as she pulled the rose close to her nose, ow! A thorn pricked her finger, and a tiny drop of blood went onto the snow. But instead of crying, my finger, she looked at the blood on the snow and she thought, oh, how pretty that looks! The red against the white. Oh my goodness me! And at that very moment when she saw the blood on the snow, she knew that her baby was going to be a girl. Oh, I'm going to have a daughter. I'm going to have a daughter. I'm going to have a daughter. Oh, yippee. Oh, happy days. Oh, I do hope my daughter is as perfect as this rose. Oh, I do hope my daughter is as pure as the snow. And I do hope my daughter will have lips as red as my blood. Oh, how lucky I am. I'm going to have a daughter. So she ran back to tell Edward what she'd just seen. But when she got home, she couldn't see Edward. Edward was not there. Edward, where are you? Edward, I've got something to tell you. Edward! But he didn't reply. That's odd. Perhaps he's gone into the forest to cut down another tree. Perhaps he needed more wood. But I'm sure he had enough wood. She went into his woodyard to check, and there was plenty of wood there, but there was no sign of Edward. She went outside, and then she saw footprints. Yeah, Edward's footprints in the snow. Well, she followed them, thinking she'd give him a nice surprise, and she followed them and followed them and followed them, and they seemed to go on quite far. And then suddenly they just stopped. And then she saw, oh horror! The tracks of a bear. Dun, 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 la, 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 la. A bear? No, not a bear. Oh, poor Edward, a bear has taken my husband. A bear has eaten my husband. Well, of course she burst into tears, and the tears, they turned into little crystals of ice on her face. And she went home, and she cried in the home, and she cried in front of the fire, and the tears turned to steam, and she didn't know what to do. She was all on her own in the middle of the forest in this hut. Well, as you can imagine, that winter was a terrible winter, a miserable winter. She was all on her own, and she missed her husband terribly. She didn't know what to do, but she knew she must look after her baby. Her tummy was getting bigger and bigger and bigger day by day, and she knew she must eat well. So she cooked herself meals. She got herself all the best, most nutritious food she could find in the forest, and she learnt how to use the axe, and she chopped wood to build fires to keep herself warm. But she was so miserable. But as spring came along, her spirits lifted. They lifted, and eventually she had not just one baby, but 2 babies. Yeah. 2 babies, and one had skin as white as snow, and one had lips as red as her blood, and she called them Snow White and Rose Red. Oh, my goodness me. 2 babies in the forest on your own. She had her work cut out, but she was determined not to leave the forest. No. She wanted to raise them in the forest, and that's exactly what she did. And time went by, and after 8 years, she had 2 of the happiest, jolliest, and sweetest girls you can possibly imagine. Here they are, Rose Red and Snow White. Oh, these girls, they were happy and kind and helpful and generous. They would do all kind of things around the house. Yeah. Damson Greengage had raised 2 feisty forest folk. They could do anything. She taught them as well. Yeah. She taught them at home, not just how to read and how to write and how to add up, but important things like how to survive in the forest on their own. What berries were poisonous and what berries were tasty and could be used for jam making and eating. Where to find the best mushrooms. They loved growing up in the forest, and they loved their forest school. They thought it was brilliant. In spring, they would look after newly hatched birds, and they learnt how to feed hungry hedgehogs straight out of hibernation. They would pick the juiciest worms. Sorry, little worm, but the hedgehogs, very hungry. There we go, little hedgehog. In summer, they would make bows and arrows. Fa-doing, fa-dong. They learnt how to weave willow wands, how to make baskets and fences and dream catchers. And when autumn came around, they loved autumn. They would take their baskets that they had made in summer and they would collect berries. Yeah. And with these berries, they would make pies and jams and chutneys. And in winter, oh my goodness me, they loved winter. In winter, they would all huddle up. Snow White, Rose Red, and Damson, they would huddle up in the kitchen. And they would read, they would play games, and they would carve puppets, and they would tell stories, just like I'm telling this story to you. And one such evening, I think actually it was probably Christmas Eve, the girls and their mother were sat around the kitchen table. Damson had made a lovely warming stew, and they decorated the tree with all kind of ribbons. And Snow White was about to tell the tale of Mashenka and the bear, when all of a sudden, there was a loud knock at the door. Who could that be? Mummy, who can that be? They never had visitors, not there in the forest, not in the middle of winter, especially not when the snow was outside. The snow was very thick on that day, very thick and still falling. Oh, Mummy, who can it be? Who's at the door? Oh, Mummy, I don't like this. We don't have strangers here. We never had visitors. Who can it be? The snow was so thick outside. Well, poor Damson, she didn't know what to do. She huddled up with her kids, and they huddled together. Mummy, I don't know who it is. But the knocking persisted. So Damson, she cautiously went towards the door, and she pulled back the curtain, and she couldn't see anything at all because the snow was falling so thickly. She thought she could just about make out a strange shape, but she didn't know what it was. But she didn't know if she should open the door or not. Oh, shall I? Shan't I? Shall I open the door? Shall I turn the handle? And then she had an idea. And I don't know where this idea came from, but she thought, what if Edward is still alive? What if it's Edward at the door? The poor man, he's been in the wilderness for 8 years. He'll be frozen. He'll be so cold. Oh, the poor man. So she slowly opened the door, even though Snow White was saying, no, Mummy, no. And even though Rose Red was saying, no, Mummy, no. She turned the handle of the door, opened the door, and there was a bear. A bear, a bear, a bear's in the house, a bear's in the house. Oh me, oh my, there's a bear in the house. The three of them, the two girls and the mother, they grabbed each other's hands and they ran to the back of the house. The bear is going to chase us, the bear's going to eat us, the bear is going to do absolutely nothing. The bear just stood in that doorway, shivering and shaking. Well, Damson was very cautious of bears, quite rightly, you're thinking. But Snow White and Rose Red had never seen a bear before, and they went up to the bear, and they looked in the bear's eyes, and all they could see was sadness and hunger and confusion. And they could see just how sweet and gentle and kind of cute the bear was. Grr, grr, grr. Well, the bear was shivering. Oh, come in, Mr. Bear. Please come into our house. Sit by the fire, warm yourself up. And they got blankets and they put blankets around the bear, and they decided he would be called Bear Brown. Snow White, Rose Red, Bear Brown. It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So they put the blankets on him and they brought him out some porridge, and he loved the porridge. He ate 3 bowls of porridge, and the bowls of porridge, they were neither too hot nor too cold, but they were just right. And after he had warmed up by the fire, and after he'd had his porridge, and after he had drunk some very, very warm Ribena. Sorry, that wasn't a product placement. A very warming winter drink. He tried to talk to the girls. He looked the girls in the eyes and he said, "Ah!" "What was that?" said Rose Red. He tried again. "Ah!" "I don't understand," said Snow White. "Mummy, is he trying to talk to us?" "I think so," said Damson. "Ah!" he said again, but he looked really frustrated, like he wanted to be understood. "Ah! Ah! Ah!" So then he tried to use his paws to try and communicate, to make himself understood. "Ah! Yippee, said the girls. "He's trying to play charades. Oh, I love charades. Oh, don't tell me, Bear Brown. Is it a book?" No, wait a minute. Don't tell me. Is it a play? No, hold on. Is it a musical? I love musicals. Let it go. No, hold on. Is it a film? No, it can't be a film. Cinema hasn't been invented yet. Well, when Bear Brown realised he was never going to make himself understood, he got up from the table and he started to walk away. He started to walk towards the front door. "Oh no, Bear Brown," said Snow White. "Oh no, Bear Brown," said Rose Red. "Oh no, Bear Brown," said Damson. "Oh, please stay with us. You're very welcome here. Look outside. Look how shocking the weather is. Look how heavy the snow is falling. Look how thick it is. If you go outside, Bear Brown, you're going to catch a death of cold. You must stay here with us. We've got a spare bed." "Yeah, well, we don't. We've got a futon. We could turn the futon into a bed for you. Yeah, and you are welcome to stay the whole winter, or longer if you want. And we've got plenty of food and we'll look after you." Well, there it is. Bear Brown stayed the whole winter through. And he loved staying there. And what's more, the girls loved having Bear Brown in their house. Yeah, they absolutely adored him. They would play with him all the time. He was like the dad they'd never known. He was like the shaggy dog they'd always wanted. He was like the BFG, all rolled into one. One great big bundle of fluffiness. Yeah. Grrr, grrr. During the winter and in the daytime, they would get on his back and they would charge through the snow like this. He was like a huge furry snowplow. And at night, he would tuck the girls up in bed and he would give them bear hugs to keep them warm. And sometimes the girls would read him stories and everything was lovely. But as the winter snow began to melt, they could see that Bear Brown was anxious to go back outside. He seemed to be a little bit sort of uneasy at staying in the house, a bit restless. And one fine spring morning, he finally left, but he had a huge tear in his eye. He didn't want to go, but he felt he had to go. The call of the wild was too strong. But every 5 minutes he would turn around and wave goodbye to the girls. And the girls were so sad. They were so sad. And as you can imagine, it took them a long time to find their happy faces again. But eventually they tried and they said, "We can't keep here moping around this house." "Come on, Rose Red," said Snow White. "Let's go out and let's see if any birds have been hatched today." So they went outside and they checked every tree for every nest, making sure that no eggs were damaged. They certainly didn't touch the nests, don't you worry. They just checked them to make sure that no eggs were broken and no chicks had fallen down out of the nest. But as they were walking around, checking the nests, they came across another clearing in the forest. And in the middle of the clearing was a gnome. Definitely a gnome. Not an elf, not a pixie, not a dwarf, but a gnome. A gnome with a humongously long beard. Now, the difference between gnomes and dwarves are gnomes love to be around on their own. Dwarves tend to go around in sevens. And gnomes are incredibly grumpy. In fact, my friends, they're worse than grumpy. They are, please do this with me, cantankerous. That means ultra grumpy. That's it. Put your fingers like this, stick your elbows out, and can you please say cantankerous? Next time one of your parents say to you, "Oh, you're being a bit grumpy to you today," all you need to do is say, "No, I'm not. I am 100% cantankerous." Okay, so this was a very, very cantankerous gnome. And the weird thing was, his beard was so long, he'd managed to get it caught in a log. I think he'd been chopping up a log, the log had split, and the beard had suddenly got caught inside the crack in the log, and the log had closed up around it. I don't know how exactly that had happened, but this gnome was super grumpy because his beard was caught in the log. Ow! 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 Oh, wow, 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 wow. Oh, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. Oh, my beard is caught in the log. Oh, hang on. My moustache has got all wonky as well. Oh, I hate this. Oh, my beard is caught. Oh, you silly log. You're meant to be all bark and no bite. Oh, what you doing? Oh, what are you two girls looking at? Hey, what are you two girls looking at? Can't you see I'm stuck? Oh, what was that? What? Do I want your help? No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Of course I want your help, you silly girls. Can't you see I'm stuck? Can't you see I'm in a predicament? Can't you see I'm in a pickle? I need your help right now. Don't just stand there and gawp. Be quick about it, you silly girls. Come over here right now and free me from this log. My goodness me, said Snow White. He's so rude and grumpy, isn't he? Yes, he certainly is, said Rose Red. He certainly is. He's just so awful, but I suppose actually he might just be a little bit, overtired. It is quite late in the afternoon, isn't it? Oh, yes, I suppose it is. Now, luckily for the gnome, Snow White never went into the woods without her handy pair of craft scissors, because she never knew when a little moment of decoupage might take her fancy. So she sharpened up the blades. She took her aim and snip! Cut through the little gnome's beard. Ow! Ow! Ow, you silly, silly girl! You silly, silly girl! Look what you've just done! Ah! My beard! My beard! My beard! My beard's too short! My beard's too short, you silly, silly girl! How dare you! How dare you cut my beard! Ah! 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 And the beard... No, excuse me. Oh, I've got beard fluff in my mouth. Hold on. The gnome went running off into the woods, whinging. Like a pathetic whinger. Actually, it would have been quite funny if the beard had run off as well, but the beard didn't. The beard was still there, caught in the log. Said the beard. Said the gnome. He really was grumpy, wasn't he? Honestly, said Rose Red. Now, if you're wondering why on earth was that gnome just so grumpy, I'll tell you. You see, gnomes are very, very sensitive about their beards. Their beard is... Oh, excuse me, that fluff is still there. The beard is probably the most important part of a gnome. You see, a gnome's beard doesn't grow. No, they're born with it. And if you can imagine a baby, newly born baby, with an ultra-long beard, it does look very, very weird indeed. But their beard is so long. It is so long. Sorry, there's not a beard at the window. The window cleaner's here. Good timing, eh? Anyway, that's live for you. The beard is the most important part of the gnome. Yeah. And it doesn't ever grow. And if it gets cut, it never ever grows back. It stays that same length. And the reason why gnomes are so attached to their beards is because all gnomes can do magic. And the magic, this is the important bit, the magic is in the beard. Yeah. If you're at home, I'd like you to repeat that. Of course you're at home. But if you're at home, I'm going to talk a bit loudly so I can drown out the window cleaner. Okay. Oh, do you know what? He's cleaning the window with his beard. I reckon he's a gnome window cleaner. Anyway, they can do magic. And the magic is in their beard. So if they've got a really long beard, they can do big magic. And if they've only got a short beard, they can do, small magic. For instance, a small beard, with the magic they can do, they would probably be able to turn a piece of toast back into bread, okay? If they've got a medium-sized beard, they'd probably be able to turn a hedgehog into a pineapple. But if they've got a really big beard, they might be able to turn someone into, I don't know, something like a bear, maybe. Curious. So anyway, that's why this gnome was particularly grumpy, because he'd had a very, very long beard, and now it was only 2/3 of its original length, and he knew it wouldn't grow back. Anyway, I'm waffling away. Time passes by, and eventually it's summer. Yeah, it's summer. And the girls love summer, because in summer they would go outside and they would climb up trees and they would practice their archery. And Rose Red, she fired an arrow and it went out of sight. Yeah. So they went looking for the arrow, and guess what happened? They came across another clearing, and in the clearing was that same gnome. And his beard was caught again. It wasn't caught in a log this time, no. The silly gnome had been fishing like this, and he caught his beard in the fishing rod. I think he'd wound it around, and he'd caught a huge fish, a massive fish, and that fish was pulling him back into the pond. Ow! 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 Oh no! Oh no! Oh, get off me! Get off me! Oh, holy mackerel! Oh, for God's sake! Oh! I'm floundering here. Oh, let go, you silly fish. What are you two girls gawping at? What was that? What are you saying? What? I know, I've got big ears. What are you saying? Do I want your help? Do I want your help? Do I look like I want your help? Do I want your help? No. Yes, of course I want your help. Can't you see I'm in trouble? Can't you see I'm in a predicament? Can't you see I'm in a pickle? Be quick about it, you silly girls. Hurry up. Be quick about it. Come and help me right now. My goodness me, Snowy, that gnome, he's ever so cantankerous, isn't he? Oh, yes, he is, Rosie, but perhaps he's just a little bit hungry. Oh, I suppose so. Well, luckily, Rose Red never went into the forest without her handy upholstery shears. She never knew when there might be a sofa that needed covering. So she sharpened up the blades. Ooh! She took her aim and she snipped right through the beard, freeing the fish, freeing the beard, and freeing the gnome. Oh, you silly girl! Oh, what'd you do that for? Oh, look what you've done! Look what you've done! My beard is now shorter still! Oh, you silly girl, how could you do that to me? You've disfigured me! How dare you! Look how short my beard is! Ow! And he ran off, whinging like a great big pathetic whinger, back into the woods. The fish freed itself from the hook and said, "Oh, thank you very much, girls. Bye," and went back into the water. And the girls, they looked at each other in absolute disbelief. How weird was that? Well, time goes by, and eventually it's autumn. And they loved autumn as well. They loved all seasons. The leaves were turning brown and they were falling from the trees, and it was time to go out berry picking in the woods. And there they were, with their baskets, picking the berries, thinking, oh, that'll make a nice cherry pie. Oh, that'll make a nice blackberry crumble. And guess who they came across? You've guessed right, that gnome, for a third time. And this time, he had a treasure chest in front of him. A treasure chest a bit like this. But not as creaky, not as stylish as this one. But his treasure chest was full of gleaming golden treasure. All kind of trinkets as well. Yeah. Gold, silver, diamonds, emeralds, pearls. Yeah. Loads and loads of stuff shimmering like this. But the silly gnome's beard was caught. It was caught in the hinges. You would think by now that he wouldn't be so clumsy, wouldn't you? Well, I have to say, he did once try wearing a hairnet, yeah. But all the animals laughed at him and he got a bit embarrassed and he didn't like that. Oh, window cleaner's back with his beard. So, there he was with his beard caught in the treasure chest. Oh no, which way does my hat go round? Oh no, oh you silly box, why, I've got to think outside the box, how am I going to get out of this, oh, you silly box, what are you two girls looking at, what are you two girls looking at, can't you see I'm stuck, what are you looking at, what was that, you said, what did you say, what, do I need your help, do I look like I need your help? Do I need your help? No. Yes, actually I do. Yes, of course I need your help. Be quick about it, you silly girls. Can't you see I'm in a predicament? Can't you see I'm in a pickle? Can't you see I'm stuck? I need your help right now. Be quick about it, you silly girls. My goodness me, said Snowy. He is so grumpy, isn't he? Oh, yes, said Rosie, but maybe he's got a new tooth coming through. Oh, can you hear that? Sounds just like a new tooth coming through, doesn't it? Imagine that. Imagine a big tooth. If you're a woolly mammoth, a new tooth coming through would sound just like that. Anyway, luckily, the girls never went into the forest without... Just as well I don't have a big nose doing that, isn't it? Their Spear and Jackson 5 garden shears. Well, they sharpen up the blade. Ooh. They took their aim and snip! They cut off the gnome's beard. Ow, you silly, silly girls! Ow! Ow! Ah! Ah! Oh, my beard! My beard! Oh, I can feel my cheeks. I hate feeling my cheeks. Oh, my cheeks! Oh, they're all chubby. Oh, I don't like my cheeks. Oh, I can feel my chin. Ah! I don't like my chin. Oh, my chin. Oh, no, 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 no. And as that gnome was making such a racket, out of the sky flew a great, big, magnificent blackbird. Ow, 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 ow! I'm fed up with all your whining and whinging. Ow, 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 ow! You ridiculous little gnome. Ow, 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 ow! I'm going to take you away from this forest. And the ginormous blackbird, with his talons, I was going to say claws, but talons, with his talons, grabbed hold of the scruff of the neck, not the scruff of the neck, sorry, the collar of the little gnome and carried him away from the forest and dropped him on an island all on his own in the middle of an ocean. Now back to the girls. The moment the blackbird had come down and taken the gnome away, the ground began to grumble and the earth began to crumble and the soil began to tumble, and out of the undergrowth crept a strange looking beast, a strange looking creature, long matted hair, leaves and moss everywhere, twigs sticking out of him. But it looked like a man. But the girls looked down at the man's feet, and his feet were the feet of a bear. They were terrified. Who are you? Who are you? And at first it seemed that the man was finding it difficult? He was finding it difficult to talk. My name? I can't remember my name. My name is Edward. My name is Edward. And you're Snow White and you're Rose Red. Yes, we are, but how do you know our names? Because last winter I lived in your house. I was Bear Brown. But I am actually Edward Woodward, your father. I'm Edward Woodward, your father. Daddy? 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 But if you're our daddy, why did you leave us 8 years ago? And why did you leave our poor mummy all on her own? That was really mean. I didn't do it on purpose. I had no choice. You see, 8 years ago, it was very, very cold and the snow was thick and your mother went for a walk on her own. Yeah, she went for a walk and I was really worried because she'd been longer than 10 minutes. So I went chasing after her with a spare jumper and a flask of hot, warming winter drink. And oh no, oh me, oh my, I bumped into a little gnome, a gnome with an incredibly long beard, and that gnome was counting up his treasure. And when he saw me, he thought I wanted to steal his treasure. So he did a spell on me. Ping! He turned me right there and then into a bear. And for the next 8 years, I was in the forest walking around, not knowing who I am, or not knowing where I was, or not knowing what I wanted to be. But I was a bear, and I didn't know what to do until I came across your house, our house, in the middle of the woods. And at that moment, bit by bit by bit, I became human again. And every part of me, except for my feet I can see, is restored. Now if you're thinking, my friends, OMG, what on earth just happened then? I'll tell you. Do you remember that gnome? He had a long beard, or when he had a long beard, he could turn people into bears. But as it got shorter and shorter and shorter, the magic got weaker and weaker and weaker. And bit by bit by bit, Edward became human again. But because the blackbird took the gnome away, and he had a tiny little bit of beard left on his chin, just like this much here, there would always be one part of Edward which would always be a bear. But don't worry, my friends. There are worse things in the world than walking barefoot through the forest. Well, Edward was so proud of his daughters, and they were so pleased to have their daddy back. They had loved him as Bear Brown, but they loved him more as Edward Woodward, their father. They took him, one hand each, like this, they took him back home. And of course, when Damson saw Edward, little heart-shaped butterflies flew around the room. Oh, Edward, my darling missing husband. Oh, Damson, I love you so much. And all four of them, they had a perfect winter and the perfect rest of their lives. And yes, my friends, yes, they of course lived happily ever after. But if you're wondering about that gnome, all on his own on that island, I'll tell you. The gnome loved being on that island. You see, he loved being solitary. That means he loved being on his own. He called the island No Man's Land. And there was no one around to make him grumpy at all. And he just loved that. He started to smile after a while. He loved walking along the beach, and every day he would collect shells. He would only take the shinier shells with mother of pearl on the inside. And those shells, I can't talk, can I? Those shells became his treasure. He loved his treasure, and he loved being on that island. Yeah, he absolutely loved it. And his beard never actually grew back, which is just as well, because we didn't want Edward to become a bear again. But it also meant, not only couldn't he do magic, but it also meant he never ever got it caught, ever again. Well, my friends, if you enjoyed that story, without the addition of the cleaning window malarkey, that is one of the stories which is available on our website, and it comes with the marvellous music of Martin Thornton. Well, we have 1 day left of stories, and that's on Monday. But remember, before Monday, if you can come up with a pirate's name that's not necessarily Captain this or Captain that, but a pirate name and something you can just throw into a pot of soup, I would be most grateful. And in the meantime, stay well, stay healthy, look after each other. TTFN. Bye, and have a very, very jolly weekend. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.